Welcome back to the QPL Stage 1 Finals. It's day 2 here, and this next matchup is going to be a great one. Welcome back to the Dex, ZSX, and Flea. We have got the returning champion from the Quake World Championships, Rapha, taking on GaRpY, who, is not a stranger to the QPL, but returns after winning his Challengers matchup. Gentlemen, welcome. I'm very excited for this matchup, and partially because Rapha went through in the Americas region what we've never really seen before. A perfect season, if you will. Every series won, but even more impressive, every map won. Flea, this is kind of an incredible feat. What do you think about Rapha here as we kick things off for the QPL Stage 1 Finals?
I mean, what is there to be said that hasn't already been said a million times, right? The greatest of all time. Many people consider him to be, not just when it comes to Quake Champions, but to Quake as a series. The man is incredible. When I was taking some notes leading up to this matchup, I only have one thing written down for Rapha, and that's 27-0. He hasn't dropped a single map in weeks. He is a powerhouse, and he has taken down so many players in NA and EU alike. Now, when it comes to this matchup, though, if we think back to QuakeCon 2018, GaRpY actually managed to pull off a huge upset and beat Rapha on Molten Falls in overtime. Was one of the closest frags we've ever seen, so it absolutely can be done. Now, of course, next time they went up against each other, QuakeCon 2019, Rapha made quick work of his opponent, 2-0 victory, but GaRpY, he has a shot.
Yeah, I'm excited to see my my bro, the Birmingham Brawler, GaRpY. Glad he's back representing the UK. And I mean, as Flea said, yeah, it was the best of one, but considering Rapha hasn't lost a map in recent memory, 6+ months plus, it feels like now, that even winning a single map is going to be quite a big boon for him. And if I'm honest, I think looking at the bracket, of all the matchups Rapha could have got, this is probably the one that potentially poses a little bit of a problem for him.
Yeah, it's definitely not a pushover match by any means, right? And in fact, I think that GaRpY just had a great showing in his Challengers matchup as well. I don't think this is one that Rapha's like, oh, I'll just kick my feet up and I'm 27-0. He's not that type of player to begin with. But I mean, obviously, I think a lot of fans are saying, well, can he keep the map streak going? And at this point, I don't know if that's the right mental attitude to be in. I think the attitude is just like, I just need to win the series.
Yeah, and I can't imagine any other way for Rapha to go into this, right? He is the professional of the Pro League, incredibly disciplined. When he plays, it is to win, and he is focused on nothing other than achieving that goal. So he isn't going to care about losing a single map. The series is all that matters to him. And as you said, I actually agree with ZSX that GaRpY definitely isn't one of the easiest players for him to go up against. The man, the British Bulldog, can absolutely come out swinging. I just think back a few LAN tournaments when Cypher had his incredible run after he qualified for the Quake Pro League, who very nearly stopped him in the very first game. It was, of course, GaRpY. GaRpY brought it to the wire only for Rapha or for Cypher to go on and beat Rapha 2 games later. So this man can absolutely take down the best when he's feeling it.
Well, let's take a look at the picks and bans, right? Because that's going to tell us a little bit more about this story. It looks like Ruins, Corrupted Keep, and Deep Embrace on the pool. ZSX, what do you think?
Really liking the Ruins matchup. The Solak pick could be particularly strong for GaRpY. I think he needs a good start. And having the buffer of the heavy stack to play with is going to be key. Obviously, Rapha coming out, and I like the retaliatory pick in terms of Strog, because then he can play the same tempo as GaRpY, has that additional burst damage as a Pika. I think that'd be a really, really exciting matchup. Keep as well. Doom obviously incredibly strong on that particular map, whereas the BJ offers Rapha a bit of a utility there to fall back and play defensive if he needs to, or go super aggressive with the dual wield. And then Deep Embrace, Ison, means GaRpY can try and slow the tempo just a little bit, but I think Rapha, if we get onto that map with the Ranger, I think the tempo is going to be a little bit too high for GaRpY to keep out there.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think these are pretty balanced picks. I'll agree that Deep Embrace favors Rapha overall, but other than that, I can see GaRpY's picks work. Of course, there's more to it than just the picks and the bans alone, so I think that the Sword I can definitely work on Ruins, but Strog, That Peaker is deadly on that map because of its verticality, and then on Corrupted Keep, there's no railgun on the map, and that helps BJ out a lot because it's much more focused on that close quarter combat, where that dual wield really shines.
Yeah, the Deep Embrace pick as number 3, I think is interesting because actually in some of the matchups that were quote unquote the closest for Rapha in stage 1 over the course of the 13 weeks, Deep Embrace was probably the map that he was behind on, still clawed his way back. But maybe not a level of comfort that obviously Rapha has in many of the other maps. So I do think it's a good map pick for GaRpY, and interesting if we actually do get to that point. And I guess that's the question, as I know chat is going to be about ready to put in their chat prediction picks. Does anyone want to throw anything out here? ZSX, I'll start with you.
I mean, we have to be surprised if it's not a 2-0 for Rapha. I think that's going to be the mandate going through the tournament. Like I said, I think GaRpY has it in him to take at least a map. Like, I don't expect a victory, but I'd be glad to see him come away with a map.
I also think that this is going to go in Rapha's favor, right? If I was a betting man, I would be putting my chips on the American player representing Team Liquid, but of course, GaRpY, he has a shot. He can definitely take away a map from Rapha. They don't usually play against each other, and we know that Rapha is so good at downloading his opponent and having tactics for each and every player he goes up against, so that little unknown variable could be helping out the Brit.
Awesome. Well, Flea, enjoy the show. We'll have you back to talk about this match once it's over. It looks like the predictions in chat have begun as well, so make sure you get those in. And ZSX, we're going to be talking about this matchup here. I do think it is, we think, or we hyper-focus on what happened in stage 1 over the 13 weeks, right, where Rapha went undefeated. There is also the Quake World Championships where Rapha had one of the greatest performances that we've ever, seen out of him. You think back to that finals, and it wasn't necessarily even the most memorable match. It was memorable because Rapha won, but he won like so decisively. You almost watched it just saying, like, how is this the finals match, right? You expect this like super close clash, and it wasn't that at all. So, the question I kind of throw out there is, what are the chances that like Rapha's in that form going into the stage 1 finals?
I think there's no doubt he will be. I've never seen him come into an event underprepared, so no one's ever going to consider Rapha to be anything less than his best. It's more around what level are the other competition at, and we've seen already the NA scene have taken a step up in this tournament in terms of the results, and we saw in the stage 1 results, the EU bracket, the EU side is just incredibly competitive. Everyone's taking maps off everyone, and that's not a symbol of the scene deteriorating. It's quite the opposite. It's a scene of everybody is now stepping up to the plate. And I think you said it maybe off cast earlier, like, is this the change in the guard? We see all these new names kind of taking wins off the bigger older names. So everyone's in with a shout now.
I think I said that, and I think you were like, wait a second. So I'm glad I'm winning you over with that one a little bit. Actually, to your point, though, it's just very exciting to see exactly how everything is playing out. And you're right. Like, all we're seeing is amazing Quake players improve and get much better. And we are officially live for this one on Ruins. We're watching from Rapha's point of view. And we've already had some, quick action happening here early on. GaRpY did get the heavy. Rapha not sitting on much of a stack at all. Hasn't really even, I think, just the one light. He's going to finally pick one up as rails are tossed out back and forth between the two, exchanging those. There, the Mega is picked up. Rapha making his way over, expecting his opponent to come up to the jump pad. He does, but the spit keeps Rapha back. And we start this in the first minute, 0-0, but with some nice action.
Yeah, GaRpY's struggling at the moment without a rocket to work with. Rapid in position as well. GaRpY's going to have to scuttle away. And Rapha at the minute chasing in. Nice rail coming out there as well. He will be chasing down his opponent. GaRpY tries to do some sort of damage. Double pummel. Nearly got a kill there. Close on. Well, we got a little bit of a lull. It's been an interesting theme so far to me to kind of reflect with the pressures of a tournament, in that we're seeing a lot more heavy champion picks come out and a lot less deep embrace. I think the reason for that is the heavy champion just give you a lot more flexibility, and you can make more mistakes with them given the stack you have. Whereas Deep Embrace, as we know, is a snowball map, and if it just doesn't go your way, you might just instantly lose a map. As we have another engagement here over by the jump pad. Good rockets from GaRpY, and this time he does get a frag.
Yeah, that was actually a little uncharacteristic there of rapha not being able to follow up with that one. Some nice damage there with Peeker, but now down and below is going to manage to lock those shoes in place and take him out, his opponent out with the LG. Risky move, but he felt confident enough to get it. GaRpY, though, trying to return it right back. And well, it is now 2-2 as you know, this is actually, I think, the match that we were talking about earlier that was completely possible here. GaRpY was not an opponent that you could just go like, I've got this, no problem. Like, GaRpY hasn't been playing in the QPL as much. This is him showing like, you should not take me lightly, and I'm here to play. I mean, we saw like the early frag that came out from rapha that was almost returned with that gauntlet kill, but tied up 2-2. It's just like things just started here, and now a fight over at Mega. The spit does come out, and rapha just waiting for that one. A few seconds actually until it comes up, and he's gonna move out, try to get maybe a different angle here, but he's gonna give up that Mega in the process.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice play to get that Mega as well, to go through the back channels, realizing rapha was guarding the entrance, and big rockets coming out, and another frag from GaRpY. And to your point, Wheat, what this is showing for me is GaRpY's experience. Like, the pick of the Sorlag enables him to play aggressive, and many players, when they're playing against rapha, will adjust their playstyle, become a little bit more defensive out of respect, but GaRpY isn't showing any of that. He's using the full utility that Sorlag offers and trying to go aggressive, but choosing the situations wisely, which is also critical.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 1,000% on this one. And, you know, like, the one thing that is very obvious that I'm seeing here, ZSX, is that GaRpY's not afraid of rapha. Now, rapha is on top of him once again. The LG, after a couple of rockets, does manage to take him out, tying this game up 3-3. But I'm seeing a level of confidence in GaRpY's play that I think is really fantastic. And he should have it, right? He made his way through the challengers, back into the QPL, and he's played rapha before. It's not like this is a first matchup. And, you know, I think if you don't have that confidence in yourself, it's going to be pretty hard anyway. So GaRpY kind of showing that is letting him play his best game versus rapha. And, you know, the proof is in the fact that this game is tied 3-3. Now, GaRpY just picked up the heavy yet again and is doing a good job, you know, sort of controlling these major items. We're going to have a fight here over the heavy. And I don't think rapha is going to be so quick to give this one quite yet. Rockets are flying in from both directions. rapha does manage to grab that heavy and will now back off. Will there be an attack here on the heavy armor?
Just a chipping away, making his presence felt. But the rails from GaRpY have been absolutely instrumental in forging his position so far. We are tied 3-3, and it also is rapha's server, so that's something to reflect on as well, that GaRpY is playing a little bit more reserved in the ways approaching these fights. He's setting up aggressively in choke points, but he's not actually looking to push out onto the map just yet, just trying to consolidate his advantage with the items, and now he's in a good position to pressure this heavy if he wants to.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. It is up. rapha gives it just a couple of seconds. Great rail coming in from GaRpY. Another one returned from rapha. Going to be a fight over the light here. Oh, rapha actually losing track of GaRpY, and GaRpY getting some nice damage there, leaving rapha down to 27 points of health. He is so low. Just a love tap would be all is needed. And there it is, the LG. The first couple cells miss, but the next few send him to the grave. GaRpY now taking the lead once again, 4-3.
Yeah, only halfway gone, but we're seeing an absolutely tense matchup here as GaRpY is matching rapha blow for blow. In fact, taking the advantage in terms of damage and item control. So you have to say, so far the strategy is working. And another big rocket from GaRpY, and that's been, again, another clear point of difference is that GaRpY's defensive rockets, as rapha tries to push it aggressively, have always been on point, but this time the shotgun isn't good and he will be going down. But rapha's trying to be careful. He's got a lot of health and armor to work with.
Oh.
Stole the heavy though, Wheat.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually, that's I mean, F for that armor. GaRpY is going to get a follow-up as well, keeping his lead, but that would have been a totally different exchange there if he would have gotten, GaRpY was down to 5 points of health. Rapha couldn't finish him off. Peeker's going to come out yet again. It will go down. Spit will be returned back as well, but Rapha the only one with an armor stack. LG battle here at the stairs, and GaRpY's LG coming out on top yet again. He takes a 2-frag lead. We've got less than 4 minutes left to go.
It's all down to the Sorlag pick at the moment. That stack difference is what GaRpY is using to maximum efficiency. Stealing that heavy was a little bit fortunate, but as you said, was absolutely critical in making sure GaRpY can push in aggressively. Another confrontation, this time before the Mega. The rockets are not as good this time from GaRpY. And Rapha is able to scuttle away, and now he should be able to clean up the heavy as well. So this could be a big turning point. What can GaRpY do to stay alive?
Well, Rapha definitely, you could tell he wants to keep that pressure on, doing as much damage as he possibly can. Comes up the jump pad. GaRpY does get some nice LG, but Peeker perfectly played right there in a safe spot. Let Peeker do the work, tying this game up 6-6. This has been an incredible matchup. This is what we expect in the round of 16, and we still have so much left to go. But exciting play here from GaRpY. I'm just getting more and more hype that he is back in the QPL. Another fight down below at the heavy, and Rapha is going to come out on top of that. I thought GaRpY had a chance. Rapha down to about sub 50, just about. He finally takes the lead back, I think, for the first time of this game.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I thought for sure Rapha had overextended there as GaRpY's LG was completely on point. This is a big item from GaRpY. He needs to do some significant damage. 2 rails. Can he hit a third and get away? Doesn't hit the third, but he does get away. There's a long time for this heavy there. So GaRpY's in a lot of trouble. He needs to hit one more rail. He's not able to, and now Rapha does seem to be pressing his advantage a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, Mega was his super buddy right there. Had it not been perfectly timed by Rapha and he knew he could fight on top of that Mega, that definitely would have been a GaRpY frag there. Rapha now turning the tables, up by 2. He's going to head on into the Mega, knows that it's a few away. He's going to pull out Peeker, getting a lot of damage off here. And wow, stuck in the hallway, not the place you want to be. Rapha extends his lead to 3.
The quick decision-making from Rapha has been just unbelievable. That Peeker right there, and the other Peeker before when he came to jump pad, I thought for sure he probably would have died, but he managed just to get out of sight from GaRpY, quickly popped the Peeker, and once again, it's just the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, your instinct is like, if you're, if Rapha's in view, who cares about Peeker? I can take, do the damage to Rapha, but Rapha in both of those situations put himself perfectly out of view and made Peeker the, main antagonist in the moment, and it worked out beautifully. 10-6 now. Rapha looks like he's going to solidify his win here on this map, but to what you and Flea and I were talking about previously, you can't sleep on GaRpY. This exactly showcases that, this isn't just a matchup that is a free win by any means. They were going to get a spit kill there in the final moments, and, we could probably see another frag here from GaRpY, but I think Rapha comfortably finds himself with victory here. Impressive way to start off this series, Dan.
Absolutely. That's been one of my favorite matchups of the final so far. I thought they both played fantastically, and there were potentially a few small detail errors from GaRpY in terms of timing, where he was pressing an item maybe a few seconds earlier than he probably should have, and that cost him a frag or 2, but ultimately it was 2 well-matched opponents and some quick thinking from Rapha that got him that victory.
Yeah. And one thing that's always tried and true about Rapha is that he doesn't play to the minute. He plays to the 10-minute game, and in most cases he plays to the series, right? And that was very evident right there. Down by at 1.3, not an issue. Played the game that he knew he could play, capitalized on his opponent's mistake, didn't have any unforced errors on his side. But really, I want to give a lot of props to GaRpY and just how well he did play that from the beginning. Made some great choices in terms of his own aggression and how he was controlling the map, and ultimately it makes me very excited here for map 2.
Yeah, and I felt what was particularly fascinating, it was just such a great showcase for everything that is Quake Champions, because It was the strategy, it was the aim, but it was also the champion choice, and they both used the full utility and skill sets on offer. GaRpY obviously with the spit and the denial of area, the stack advantage, rapha with the Pika plays, and also using those health fires off of GaRpY's corpse. Like picking up this one here was critical, picking up the heavy armor, because then he continued to push that advantage. So the small details like that just keep adding up, and this is what I mean in terms of the missed time. GaRpY probably there 3 seconds too early, and died because of it. And just the smallest of mistakes against rapha will just continue to add up to your eventual demise.
And Chad is very happy as well. Dan, the best comment I saw is like, this was not this base game. And it was not. It was like on the other end of the spectrum. That was, you know, all action all the time. Very, very interesting game. And that's what makes Quake so great is you get all of these clashing styles, and each one brings a unique set of games to our eyeballs. I love it. Corrupted Keep is going to be our next map. rapha is going to be playing on the BJ, and GaRpY is going to be playing on the Doom. But Corrupted Keep, I like this one. You know, I think we're going to see, based off of just what we saw in the last matchup, that this one's going to be as high octane. The question is will we have the same back and forth ZSX, or, you know, will we see one player kind of pulling ahead early on?
I do think it's going to be a bit of back and forth as well. I mean, you can get a much more of a stranglehold on this map, so I'm expecting a little bit of a cagey opening from the both of them as they test the waters. Both on medium champions now, so that stack difference isn't coming out to be anywhere near as evident. I think GaRpY is going to have to be very wary around his positioning when the dual wield is up, because if he gets trapped potentially, you know, in that light armor room over by the nail gun, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's where rapha often likes to push his advantage. He rushes into that room quick when you know you're in there and pins you in the corner. So you just have to be fully aware of what rapha's doing. But we've seen what GaRpY can bring, and I'm glad he kind of lived up to expectations. I saw lots of people in chat laughing, and Flea and I, when we said he's going to cause rapha some problems. So I'm sure he can do it again.
Do you feel validated now?
No, because I knew I was right.
Good, good. All right, well, kicking things off, GaRpY is going to be getting the first frag of the game, a fight just above the Mega, and the double super shotguns are not going to be able to do it. And that means that GaRpY once again takes this lead early on, but he is incredibly low, down to only 29 points of health, and that's going to be an easy cleanup there for rapha, getting LG kill, tying it up here in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah. Not as cagey as I expected, but they are now resetting as GaRpY does exchange items. Nice LG coming out from rapha, though. Doesn't even have the dual wield up and doesn't need it either. GaRpY forced into that position, but this is what I like. Knowing that rapha is weak, he is pushing aggressively. He doesn't want to let him restack, doesn't want to let him be comfortable. Again, just nice experienced play from GaRpY here. Chipping away, meaning rapha can't get a free heavy. Dual comes back up, and he does fall, but again, he's done a lot of damage. Oh,
yeah,
no, that's not the push.
Definitely not the push. In fact, a little bit too aggro here in that last 30 seconds. In fact, I wasn't even sure. I mean, you're right. rapha was weak, but he really didn't have an advantageous position in which to push from, especially considering that, you know, dual wield was coming back up in moments. And rapha, like that one little moment has allowed him to capitalize pretty heavily here in the first 90 seconds. Already 4 frags on the clock for rapha. And, you know, I wanted the back and forth too, but when I made that comment, this is exactly what I was worried about that could happen. Now, you know, GaRpY's certainly not out of it here, but, you know, rapha has complete control here. He has got a massive chokehold here on the map.
And this is what we meant when we said this map can snowball. You can get a big much of a stranglehold, and you see the pressure and the tempo rapha's playing it now. I felt the decision from GaRpY initially was right to continue the pressure, but then he had done enough to win the Mega, but decided to push the heavy instead. And that was the questionable play for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that one definitely is what was the catalyst for dropping several more frags on top of it. Dual wield is up here for rapha, and so that means GaRpY has got to be careful. I mean, at this point, I want to start having the conversation about, you know, what does GaRpY do, right? What is the way in for him right now? Rapha's got full control. Now, he might not be able to get both of these items. Let's see. No, he's going to rocket jump in. Double LG coming out. The Mega is up, so he could retreat on back to that. But GaRpY has nothing for health. In fact, he does finally pick up the 250s there. Or that gets back up to 50 rather than 225s.
Ooh.
There it is, a nice rocket. He anticipates his opponent coming through the archway, and he does 7-1. It's not looking great for GaRpY.
No, not the best start at all. And as you say, the question is, what does he do now? Nice punch to knock Rapha back, but so they're gonna delay him ever so slightly as he falls back to the heavy. And what he needs to do is try and delay Rapha as much as he can on one of these heavy pickups.
Yeah.
Because then he can fall back onto the Mega. So take position up on that bridge, delay him, try and get some spam off, play the range game. But it is Rapha. He is so good at manipulating you, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, 12 separating the Mega and the Heavy. That is not going to be great for GaRpY either, as he's coming out of these battles always limping a little bit, right? Having taken a significant amount of damage. He's just got to spend time getting health bubbles to make sure that he's not going to get hit with, you know, a double dose of shotgun or LG at a moment's notice. And really has not been able. In fact, he has picked up 2 Megas and 4 lights, GaRpY, versus Rapha, who's got 8 heavies, 9 lights, and 6 Megas. And, you know, that's just when you're also not dishing out as much damage as you need to. That's a rough place to be in.
Yeah, and now the challenge is, and it's very reminiscent of what we saw Effortless versus Razy yesterday, is that Rapha playing as efficiently as he can means he can rotate all 4 items. And so what GaRpY needs to do is almost play around that strategy, try and keep damaging Rapha as he gets a little bit greedy and goes for the lights, but it's the most difficult position to be in right now is the position that GaRpY's in. You can see Rapha damage himself, pick up the light, circle back round to pick up the heavy, do some chip damage on the way. GaRpY is playing with nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, Rapha is playing an impeccable, there the double rockets come out, but just an impeccable game. Like you said, like, it's so rare to have 4-point control on this map where you are literally denying your opponent damn near everything. And, you know, also getting all the frags in the process as well. GaRpY actually getting Rapha in the corner. An unfortunate bounce for Rapha means a fortunate frag for GaRpY as he finally does take control. And maybe patience was all he needed. There's still just under 5 minutes left to go. Is it possible? Yes, but GaRpY would need to maintain the same amount of control that Rapha has had. And it won't matter anyway because the dual wield equalizes things off the spawn.
Yeah, and the further problem is Rapha has a 10 frag buffer. Even if everything clicks for GaRpY, Rapha could just throw his body at GaRpY, and he has a dual wield to fall back on as well. So he's inevitably going to get a frag and get himself back control. So, I mean, the climb is ginormous.
It is 10 frags. You know, it was just 8 moments ago. And you know, it takes time to even claw back from the control, right? We know it takes time, Dan, to just get those frags, but every moment that you don't have that control, you are not able to even begin increasing that lead. So, you know, suddenly 4 minutes does not seem like a whole lot of time, especially considering how tightly Rapha has held on to control throughout this entire map. There's going to be another heavy pickup for him, making it 13. And still to this point, GaRpY has not felt the sweet, sweet taste of that heavy armor. He doesn't know what it feels like to pull it over. He's just getting these, you know, little garbage bag armors, and that's it. And that is not helping out his cause.
Yeah, he's shopping at Primark right now whilst Rapha's walking around in his Dolce & Gabbana. And if you only walk around with 3 Megas all mapped, I mean, I don't even think you could beat me, let alone Rapha. You have to play with the items. And Rapha's just had a perfect game in terms of being able to keep the pressure up, play the items perfectly. The opening was questionable from GaRpY. There were some timing mistakes in addition to that, and he hasn't looked back.
He really hasn't. And I mean, now that this game has played out a little bit where BJ has come in huge, you know, the Doom pick hasn't really done anything for GaRpY. It's not, he's not really getting any position. He's not at a point to use Rampage. Like, there's just nothing that he's sort of getting out of that champion pick. Whereas like Rapha is getting everything. Not only was he able to claw back from the initial deficit of frags that he was in, but he's used it to control as well. And there's another great example in the danger zone, double super shotguns piece.
And the other actual factor working against GaRpY in terms of the picks is as strong as Doom is, you're never going to use the Doom Berserk ability, really. And so Rapha has so much uptime on that dual wield, it's ridiculous. Every other fight, if he wanted to pop it, he could probably pop it. Because he's not in control of the items, he's controlling all the vials as well.
Rapha very, very low. He does not pick up those health bubbles right away. Instead, chooses to do a little bit of damage. Then he goes in for him. Rapha now down to 4 points of damage. GaRpY was low, but GaRpY does finally get the frag, 15 to 3. And unfortunately, this ladder is going to be far too high to climb here by the time the timer is up. And so it does look like Rapha is going to continue his streak here into the round of 16 of having not lost a map in stage 1 of the QPL season 2.
No, but GaRpY did show us that, you know, things are possible. This is somebody that was a challenger, that's come out of the challenges and pushed Rapha really to the wire in map 1. So it's gonna be a little bit of a boon for the challenges for the overall title to see that weakness coming out from Rapha, if you call it weakness at all. He still won and won in a good fashion, but still was made to look vulnerable.
I don't know that I would call it weakness. I do think what I would say is that it showed us GaRpY's potential, right? Not a weakness at all by Rapha. He played how I think we all expected him to play, but in that first map especially, really impressed with what GaRpY brought to the table. If I was facing him down in the lower bracket, I would, you know, I would definitely be sweating a little bit, and I think every player should be. I think he absolutely has a lot of potential, and seeing the respect happen right there, good games coming out. 16 to 5 is what that one ends on, and Rapha does keep his undefeated map streak going, but we saw a lot of phenomenal potential there coming out of GaRpY.
Yeah, and to your point, he moves on to lower bracket as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him move a little bit further on in that bracket, and you know, whoever he's going up against next will be looking at this matchup and saying, maybe I should ban Sorlag, because that was a one of the key ingredients in what could have been a good success on map 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe, you know, GaRpY is setting himself up right now to be the sort of CNZ of the Quake World Championships, where he came in from challengers and then, you know, did eventually drop down to losers, but then gave everyone a real hard time through losers, knocking out a few notable opponents. GaRpY kind of set up to do exactly the same thing here in the lower bracket. Yeah. So hopefully he isn't feeling, you know, bad or off about that particular loss against Rapha. I don't think anyone should, and I hope he will carry the momentum that he's shown so far coming out of challengers into that lower bracket to continue to give us some good games. But Rapha is going to be winning that one, and we're going to be moving on. So I believe that Flea actually is casting over on the secondary stream right now, so it's just you and me to close this one out. And any final thoughts on that game as right before we throw it to break?
I think what the second map shows for everyone is just the level that these guys are playing at. That GaRpY made, you know, 1 or 2 mistakes a minute into the game. And, you know, playing as Rapha, that's game over. That's all you need to do. You've given him that inch and he's taken at least a mile. So you have to play the perfect game if you're going to win the Quake finals and even beat Rapha. And GaRpY didn't do that today.
And I'm seeing if there was an update on the other matchup that is happening. I don't see it quite yet, so we'll have to wait until we come back from break. When we return, coming up next, it's going to be Kilson versus Base right here on the main stream. The QPL Stage 1 Finals continues, and we'll be back with more Quake action right after this.